Welcome in. This week on Dental Profits, we're going to talk to you about why you suck at sales.
And what to do about it. Stay with us. Hi, folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
Welcome into Growth Profits.
Coming to you live each week.
We don't want to change the way you do business.
We want to change the way you're thinking about your business.
We want you to have better results, happier clients, and make more money.
Let's get it started.
Welcome into Dental Profits, the show that is dedicated to you having happier clients, better results, making more money, and enjoying the ride. This conversation is the most important conversation that we could have. This is why I got into healthcare those many years ago.
Listen, if this one conversation,
why you suck at sales.
if you pick this
and
up,
what to do about it.
If you pick this up and you do something about it, this will absolutely change your life. There's a reason. You can write this down. This is a Sean Crabtree quote. There's a reason that salespeople are the highest paid people on planet Earth. That's because it is a profession, and professional selling is something that you have to learn to be able to be as successful as you can in 2018.
And so what we want to do is give you two big things that we see as the major stumbling blocks that are helping you stay in a suck position when it comes to sales, and what to do about it. You like that? A suck position?
What is a suck position?
We should probably not go into that.
Everybody out there needs to Google suck position and tag us on Facebook and what suck position is, because we don't know. We're just saying it.
It just came up. You know, one of the biggest things that we see is, and I have to tell you, you're not alone if you feel this way, okay? One of the biggest challenges that keeps you in a sucking position when it comes to sales is you're afraid that you're coming across as manipulative. It's what I call the good guy challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
The good guy, all around good guy.
The all-around good guy challenge.
Like the Sopranos, you know, he a good guy.
Have you ever run into that?
No, I'm not a good guy.
You know?
Never been down that road.
I mean, this is one of the biggest challenges and I have to tell you, I mean, I ran into this. You know, you and I have talked about this many times. The conversation of sales is why I got into healthcare to begin with. In my former life, when I got out of college and became a professional salesperson, you know, I was in the telecommunications industry, and I have to tell you, this was a big one for me. I loved people.
Let's keep going.
I think we got some guys working upstairs. Can you hear that, Mr. Producer?
I can, but it's fine.
We're growing at the Crabtree Group. We're growing.
Oh man!
So
somebody somewhere sold something. That's what I know. I was a great salesperson somewhere, because we're paying them a fortune to fix this stuff.
If you see stuff falling from the ceiling, it's called progress. So at any rate, this was a big one for me, and I have to confess, this was a turning point in my life. I got into healthcare because of sales, but in my former life in the telecommunications industry, this is when telecommunications was in its infancy, right?
Brand new.
So you were like, I think,
not born,
right? You know, cell phones at the time were these massive things, right? They weren't these small things; they were these massive things. I was working for a company that many of you remember called Cellular One. Long story short, we had these phones that we were selling, these giant phones that some of you are too young. You haven't even seen pictures, right?
You've probably seen the Zach. They call it the Zach Morris phone, the brick phone.
Yeah, that's the
big
one.
gray one.
The big Motorola brick phone.
Yeah.
That phone, we paid about $1,300 for that phone. Okay, we couldn't afford to lose any money on it, so we sold it for $1,250. My competition sold the same phone.
Same phone, same
So
device.
I would walk into these big corporations, right? I'm talking to the CEO, I'm talking to the purchasing agent, and here's this phone, and I'm talking about 500 lines, right? Right?
Yeah.
We were selling for $1,250 per phone. My competition was selling this phone. You ready for this?
Yeah.
$99.
$99.95.
Seriously, $99 versus $1,250.
Yeah.
And for me,
You were
My
getting murdered,
goal-
getting killed.
I didn't want to appear manipulative. That's what we're talking about. I didn't want to come across as manipulative. I had this good guy challenge in my head. I didn't understand this concept of value, right? So, if one of them would say, now, wait a minute, isn't that the same phone that I can go get down the road for like $99? And I'd go,
Yep.
yes, you can. And you know what? If I were you, I'd go down there, and that's exactly what I would do, because you're talking about a considerable investment when you're talking about 300 or 400 lines at $1,250 a piece.
So you talked yourself out of the
And it
club.
got to the point where I almost starved to death. I was considering getting out. This telecommunication thing is not for me.
It's too hard. Can't
It's
compete.
too hard. I was afraid that, look, it was a huge challenge for me in my mind. How am I going to be a good guy and at the same time
Yeah.
charge $1,150 more for these lines? Here's what I learned right before I came off the cliff and fell to my death in sales. I learned this. The value that I brought to the table was me and the service that I could provide my clientele. And that became the thing that propelled me to the number 1 and number 2 position in sales.
Yeah,
with
Sean,
that
but
company.
what? But that's so. What flipped that? I mean, did you get your butt kicked enough that you just decided, you know what?
So I'll take
I
this.
got to learn to believe in value.
I'm so glad you asked.
I would. Oh,
Would you like to hear the story?
I would love to hear the story.
So as I would go into these corporations and I would say, yeah, go buy it from them. So they'd have 300, 400, 500 lines. And when they had a challenge, they'd call me. And I was not the person who sold them the accounts, but they couldn't get any service from anybody else. So I would go take care of their accounts to the point that they loved me for it. And then they started buying from me.
So
And then-
in that scenario, And
then I would have the CEO say, something like, I would get a quote from them or whatever, and then I'd share that with other corporations. And then it became, when I would talk to another corporation, and can't we buy that for $99? And I'd say, yes, you can, but here's why you want to buy it from me. And here's what they're saying at Brindley Construction or whatever the corporation was at the time. And that's how I did it.
so you found out that it wasn't about the price,
It was not about the price. It's about the,
value.
and that's number 2.
And it's about controlling your mindset, because if I don't control my mindset, then everything around me is going to control it for me. I'm going to be thinking about the price. I'm going to be thinking about you can get it cheaper somewhere else. I'm going to be thinking about this industry's so competitive. I'm going to be thinking about all of the things that
you
are
gotta get
not
your
about
mind
value.
right.
Got to get your mind right. The other thing, I wanted to add something to that. The good guy. I don't know if you guys know who Bernie Madoff is. We were talking to a lovely young lady today. She didn't have a clue who he was, but he's a very famous guy. Okay, Bernie Madoff is he orchestrated the largest Ponzi scheme in American history. I don't remember how much money.
It's 2010. is when
I think
he
in
got arrested.
2010 or 2008, he's currently in jail. But for 30 years, this guy orchestrated the largest Ponzi scheme in American history. What made it work? He was a good guy. People thought he was a good guy. They trusted him.
And he was stealing them blind.
Robbing them blind. Robbing these people for millions and millions and millions of dollars. So Google Bernie Madoff when you have a chance if you want to know the story. They actually just came out with a movie. The movie's really good if you want to go check it out. But the point of that story is
He's a good example and not a good example.
he's a good example and not a good example. He's a good example of what perception in sales of good guy mentality is. But he's also a bad example of his moral compass is obviously lost.
And if you dive into it just a little bit, I mean, what he would do is he would convince these people to invest money with him. And then several of them, he would actually show fantastic, phenomenal returns. That was all a shell game.
Talking about them gains, big gains.
Big gains. he would take your money.
Yeah. I don't have any money. He would take your money. I don't have any money.
But to be the example, he would take my money, right?
Yeah.
And then he would take your money, and he would take your money and give it to me, so that I would show fantastic gains, right?
Yeah.
And then I would go tell somebody else about my gains.
Yeah.
And then they would invest with him, and he kept this shell game going for 35
That's
or
the
40
phenomenal part.
years.
Is when you watch the movie, you understand that how could he keep it going this long?
And so what's the lesson we can take away?
The lesson is, well, like you said, the good guy mentality. The good guy mentality can be a positive, but it can also be a
can be
negative.
Right.
You know, when you go with a good guy mentality, like Sean's example, he was perceived as the good guy. And as the good guy, he was perceiving himself as the good guy, and he wanted to help on price. He wanted to help on service.
But I allowed my view of being a good guy to hold me back
Yeah.
from actually. I didn't want to be seen as manipulative, which is the
Right,
first thing we talked
right,
about.
right.
But the other part that we talked about is you got to believe that you're bringing value. And
Yeah.
I would submit that as bad as Bernie Madoff was,
He thought he was bringing
there
value.
were people, there were families that he actually brought value to.
Oh, they loved him.
And in his mind, he's coming across as the good guy,
loved
robbing
him.
people freaking blind.
They loved him. The key is, number one, back to everything we're talking about, you got to control your mindset.
So
you
how
got
do
to
you do
control
that?
your mindset.
How do you do that?
So, number one, I mean, the way you control your mindset is, well, let's talk about this first. Why do people buy?
You got to understand why people buy.
Why do people buy? Ask yourself, if you're listening to this, write this down. Why do people buy, and circle it?
And I have to tell you, you're probably smarter than I was, but when I was a young guy, I thought people buy based on dollars. And I will never forget when I was a junior in college, my professor, who had this big old cowboy hat, and he kind of looked, he had like Albert Einstein hair. He had knee, his blue jeans were blown out, wore cowboy, we smoked a big old pipe. And he came in day one, and here's what he said. I will never forget this. We had a huge auditorium, about 300 people in the room, and he said, day one, nobody that you ever have known or ever will know has ever or will ever.
Did he say it like that? I mean, did he say it in the Paul Harvey voice? Like, no one you ever know.
Has ever or will ever buy anything based strictly on price. Instead, we all buy based on our individual perception of value. And so if you watch this channel, we spent a lot of time in previous conversations talking about how to create value. None of those how-to things are going to help you unless or until, as Cameron said,
Get your mind right,
You
people.
gotta
You
get
got to
your
get your mind right. If you wrote down
Gotta
why
get your
people
mind
buy and you circled it, if you wrote down why people buy and you circled it, right underneath it, write value in big words, big letters, and circle it. Why do people buy? One reason and one reason alone. It's not price. It's not convenience. It's not customer service. It is value.
if you understand that that's why people buy, what's the second thing you need to do?
You've got to believe in your mind that your product, your good, your service, whatever it is that you're selling, you've got to believe in your mind that it is worth it, that it is valuable.
In value. Step one, understand why people buy. You, me, right? Your patients.
Your mama, your grandmama, your aunt, your uncle, everybody buys based on value. I don't care what they say.
And if now they justify. We all justify on logical reasons, but we buy based on our individual perception of value. And two, you got to see it that what you do is valuable. And here's my challenge to you. Stop. Whatever your service business is, whatever your service industry is in, stop looking at what you do as fix and repair and understand that you have the ability, if you believe it, to change people's lives. And that is value.
Valuable. In dentistry, we work with dentists and dental teams all across the country. In dentistry, I see it all the time. Dentistry can be expensive. It can be pricey. And if I'm in dentistry, I may not see as much value in the actual service as maybe the patient does. So therefore, when I'm talking about the money for the dentistry,
I got to take myself out of it.
I got to take my own beliefs, my own mindset out of it. I've got to understand that I've created value, some type of an emotional value for this patient, and the price of my product is worth it because I'm solving a problem. And when I solve a problem for a patient, I need to be compensated for that. And I got to have that in my mind. My mindset's got to be where it needs to be.
Cubes.
No, man.
You're not selling popsicle sticks.
No, even
You're
if
not
you
selling
were,
peanuts.
even if I was selling popsicle sticks, I would have the baddest popsicle sticks in the world. I would believe in my mind that my popsicle sticks are worth whatever the dollar amount is. If I wanted to sell a $100,000 popsicle stick, I would believe it in my mind first.
And you'd go prove to yourself with references that your popsicle sticks have a way
They
to
could be-
change
they got-
people's lives somehow or another.
They got glitter on them, and they're beautiful.
Cameron Bailey can do that with popsicle sticks. You know what? I bet you could do it with life-changing dentistry and life-changing services that you offer in your business.
Get your mind right, people.
Got to get your mind right. Why people buy, I hope you circled that. It's not about price, it's about value. And if you need to build some references to prove that to yourself, this channel, everything that we're doing are great reference builders for you. Seek it out, research it on the internet, build some references that prove it to yourself. And number two, realize that you are not in the fix and repair business. You are in the life-changing business. And that's what we want for you.
And if you want to learn how to create value, give us a call. We'll help you.
Right.
That's what we do all day long, is teach dentist and dental teams how to create value, because that's what's going to make you successful.
Reach out and find us at thecrabtreegroup.com. While you're there, click on the YouTube channel and subscribe so that every single thing we do goes right to your inbox so you continue to rebuild those references. This show is dedicated, as everything we do, to having you have happier clients, better results, making more
Money.
and enjoying the ride. Thanks for joining us. This has been Dental Profit. See you next time.